October 31st, 1993, 1:14 a.m., Los Angeles. When a 911 operator picked up the phone, what she heard was a scream. "Please come, my brother! He can't breathe! He collapsed!" 19-year-old Joaquin Phoenix was on his knees outside the Viper Room nightclub, crying next to his brother River's body. The operator, trying to stay calm, asked, "Is he breathing?" Joaquin's voice broke. "I don't know. He's not moving. God, please, hurry." That phone call lasted 6 minutes. And those 6 minutes were one of the most tragic moments in Hollywood history, because River Phoenix, the world's most talented young actor, was dying in his brother's arms. In the middle of Sunset Strip, in front of hundreds of people, he was 23 years old. But what exactly happened at the Viper Room that night? Was River Phoenix really just an overdose victim? And how did Joaquin Phoenix carry that trauma for 30 years? River Jude Phoenix was born on August 23rd, 1970, in Oregon. But his childhood wasn't like any normal child's. His family joined a religious cult called Children of God when River was still a baby. This group presented itself as a Christian missionary movement, but the reality was much darker. Following the cult's orders, the family moved to South America. They lived in Venezuela, Mexico, Puerto Rico. River and his siblings earned money by singing on the streets. The cult leaders controlled the children. They determined what to believe, how to behave, who to talk to. Years later, it was revealed that the cult systematically abused children. River never talked about this period. In interviews, he would say, "I don't want to talk about my past." His eyes would darken, his voice would shake. It was clear that what happened during those years left deep wounds in River's soul. In 1977, when River was 7, the family finally left the cult. They returned to America and settled in Los Angeles. River's mother and father had noticed their children's acting talent. River and his siblings registered with agencies at a young age. They started appearing in TV commercials and shows. River was naturally gifted. He was comfortable in front of the camera, could express emotions incredibly well, spoke his lines as if he was living them. In 1986, at age 15, came the film that would change his life, Stand By Me. This Rob Reiner-directed film told the story of 4 young boys on a journey to find a dead body. River played Chris Chambers, a child who had been abused, suffered violence from his family, but carried goodness inside. River didn't just play this role, he lived it. Because he was bringing his own traumas, his own pain to the screen. The film was a huge success. And River Phoenix became a star overnight. Everyone was talking about him. They called him the most talented actor of the new generation, but no one knew that the darkness inside River was being crushed under this success. River's career rose rapidly. In 1988, he worked with Sidney Lumet in Running on Empty. He played the son of fugitive parents wanted by the FBI. His performance was so impressive that at 18, he was nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Hollywood was in love with River Phoenix. His talent was undeniable. But more importantly, River had a clean image. He was vegetarian, an animal rights activist, organized campaigns to protect the environment. In interviews, he'd say, "I want to make the world a better place." The media presented him as Hollywood's innocent prince, a role model for young people, the ideal child for parents. But the reality was very different. Behind the scenes, people were talking about River using drugs. At first, just marijuana, then cocaine, then heroin. River's close friends saw him becoming increasingly dependent on substances. But nobody did anything. Because in Hollywood, this was normal. Stars used drugs to cope with pressure. The industry ignored it. Movies got made, money was earned, young lives were destroyed. River was getting lost in this machine too. In 1991, he worked on Gus Van Sant's My Own Private Idaho. He played Mike Waters, a homeless, narcoleptic, gay hustler. The role was the boldest performance of River's career. Critics showered praise. But River was different after this role. He fell into a deeper depression. It was as if he could never let go of the character's pain. 1992 and 93 were chaotic years for River. He made films, but behind the scenes, everyone saw his condition worsening. He was losing weight, looked tired. There was no light in his eyes. In one interview, he said, "Hollywood is killing me. This industry is sucking my soul. I want to get out, but I don't know how to leave." Nobody took these words seriously. They said, it's a young artist's crisis. But River was fighting for his life, and he was losing. In the last weeks of October 1993, River Phoenix had gotten really bad. His friends barely recognized him. Before, he'd been cheerful, fun, creative. Now he was quiet, withdrawn, hopeless. His family was worried but didn't know what to do. River was an adult, making his own decisions. And nobody could fully understand how dangerous a point he'd reached. October 31st, 1993, Halloween night. River and his sister Rain prepared to go to the Viper Room, a club owned by Johnny Depp. The club was on Sunset Strip, in the heart of Hollywood. It was where celebrities gathered, music played, but also where drugs openly circulated. River was going to make music that night. He'd go on stage, play guitar with friends. Music had always been an escape for him. Joaquin Phoenix went with them. He was 19 and very attached to his older brother. River had always protected Joaquin, shown him the way, helped him survive in Hollywood. That night, Joaquin noticed River was acting a bit strange, more tense, more restless. But Joaquin didn't say anything. Maybe it's just pre-stage nerves, he thought. When they entered the club, it was crowded. Celebrities, musicians, tourists, everyone drinking, dancing, having fun. River met up with some friends. Samantha Mathis, River's girlfriend at the time, was also there. The group sat at a table. River started drinking. Then he went to the bathroom. When he came back, he was different. His eyes were more clouded, his speech slower. Samantha asked, "Are you okay?" River said, "I'm fine, just a little tired." But he wasn't fine. River hadn't just drunk alcohol that night. He'd used a speedball, a mix of cocaine and heroin. This combination was extremely deadly. His body was simultaneously fighting both a stimulant and a depressant. His heart was beating uncontrollably. A few minutes later, River started feeling sick. "I need to go outside," he said, and started stumbling. Joaquin and Samantha immediately stood up. They tried to hold River, but he was moving too fast. He ran toward the club's door. He went outside and collapsed on the Sunset Strip sidewalk. When Joaquin Phoenix saw his brother fall, the world stopped. "River!" he screamed and ran. River was lying on the sidewalk. His body was convulsing. Foam was coming from his mouth. His eyes were open, but looking at nothing. Joaquin knelt down and tried to hold his brother. "River, wake up, please! What happened to you?" River didn't answer. He just shook. Samantha also came over and started screaming. "Someone call 911!" Rain also came outside and was horrified. Her brother was dying and she couldn't do anything. Joaquin pulled his phone from his jacket pocket. His hands were shaking. He dialed 911. The operator said, "911, what's your emergency?" Joaquin's voice cracked. "My brother. He collapsed in front of the Viper Room. Please come," the operator asked. "Is he breathing?" Joaquin looked at River's chest. Tried to see if it was moving. "I don't know. He's not moving. Something's coming from his mouth." The operator said, "Stay calm. The grade ambulance is on its way." "Do you know what he took?" Joaquin said cocaine, I think, but I'm not sure. Could be heroin too. The operator asked, "Is there a heartbeat?" "Check his pulse." Joaquin put his hand on River's neck. The pulse was very weak, almost non-existent. Very slow. Very weak. "God, please hurry!" A crowd gathered on the street. People were trying to understand what was happening. Some were taking photos. Some were just watching. Joaquin yelled at them, "Get back! Help him!" But nobody was doing anything. They just watched. Hollywood's star was dying on the street and everyone was just spectating. The operator was still on the line. "The ambulance will be there in 2 minutes. Stay with him, keep talking." Joaquin was crying, "River, please, hear me. Don't die." Please don't die. But River couldn't hear. He wasn't responding anymore. His body convulsed one last time. Then it stopped. Joaquin screamed, "No! No!" River. When the ambulance arrived, paramedics immediately intervened. CPR, oxygen, medication. They tried everything. But River Phoenix's heart had already stopped. He was taken to the hospital, but there was nothing that could be done there either. At 1:51 a.m., River Jude Phoenix was officially pronounced dead. He was 23 years old. He was at the peak of his career. And he died in front of a club on the street before his brother's eyes. Joaquin Phoenix was never the same after that night, witnessing his brother's final moments, being unable to prevent the drug overdose that killed him, having to make that 911 call. All of it was etched into Joaquin's soul. Days later, at a press conference, he said, "My brother was a hero. I loved him so much," and then started crying. For a while, he quit acting. He withdrew from Hollywood. He tried to deal with his own trauma. But how do you deal with something like that? Losing the person you love most, not being able to save him, your last words being to a 911 operator, "Please hurry." Joaquin carried this pain for years. In the early 2000s, he slowly returned to acting. But his roles were different now. He chose darker, more painful characters. In Walk the Line, he played Johnny Cash, succeeded. But the real turning point came in 2019, Joker. In the Todd Phillips-directed film, Joaquin Phoenix played Arthur Fleck, a man excluded by directed society, traumatized, slowly driven to madness. Joaquin's performance was so realistic that viewers cried. He won the Oscar. But everyone knew where that performance came from. River's death, that trauma, that pain, it was all inside Arthur Fleck. Joaquin expressed his brother's memory, his own pain, the monsters Hollywood created in that role. River Phoenix's death was officially closed as accidental overdose. But as years passed, questions multiplied. What exactly happened at the Viper Room that night? Who gave River those drugs? Where was Johnny Depp? Why didn't some witnesses give statements to police? Some theories claim River was murdered. They say he was preparing to expose Hollywood's dark network, that he was going to reveal the cult abuse he experienced as a child, that he was threatening big names. Other theories say the Viper Room was used for drug trafficking and River was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Johnny Depp didn't talk about this topic for years. In a 2000s interview, he said that night was traumatic for all of us. I loved River and closed the subject. What's the truth? Maybe we'll never know. But what's certain is this. River Phoenix was Hollywood's victim. He was abused by the cult as a child, then exploited by Hollywood. He was forced to maintain a clean image, but at the same plays it in police. Time received no support to deal with his pain, and eventually the system destroyed him. Joaquin Phoenix knows this truth. 30 years have passed since his brother's death, but Joaquin still tears up when he says his name. Because those 6 minutes, that 911 call, that final moment, it never passed. It never will. River Phoenix's legacy lives on through his talent, his films, and his tragic death. But the real legacy is perhaps the pain Joaquin carries. The moment when a brother couldn't save his older brother. A reminder of how deep the darkness is behind Hollywood's bright lights.